But I do want to thank everyone that's in any way been associated with this. You know, this MISD is an amazing place to work. I mean, I've chosen to work here for 35 years, my entire career. So obviously, I think it's a great place to be. I have an amazing team, Dr. Curry and his staff at Johnson Middle School are amazing. Basically my team at my fine arts team at the school, so amazing that they took a huge leap of faith and raised money to send my wife and I to Cozumel for a week, all expenses paid, for this honor. So, I mean, how could you possibly thank them for that? I'm forever indebted for that. So, it's amazing. Obviously, want to thank Eldorado Chevrolet. It's not a car for a year, it's cars. It's like, it's not go in for an oil change, it's go in for a car change. It's really been awesome. We get to change out the cars every now and then, so picked up my last one today. For the very last one, it's going to be tough to go back to real life and have to pay for a car. And also, it was really cool that the Texas Rangers honored us and the Stars honored us at the games, and that was really cool. And it was really an honor to get to be there to watch Whitney receive the Region 10 award. That was very, very special to get to share that with her. So basically, also then getting to be on the committee that judged the secondary candidates. I told the group afterwards, I said, I'm glad I got nominated last year, because I probably wouldn't be up here if I was nominated this year with these candidates. So they're just really awesome. And then I got to serve on the McKinney Innovation Team, and that has been really exciting. And though we can't really tell what we talk about, I have, Dr. McDaniel, I've gone and told very many people that I am extremely excited about the leadership in this district and the vision, and being a fine arts teacher, seeing how they value everything every one of us does, no matter what the discipline is, and it's really exciting. We're in a great place in McKinney ISD for the future. But I want to talk more about the past with the few minutes that I have left. And basically, when I got up here last year, I mentioned that I get to do what I do because my dad was a band director, and he was a band director in McKinney ISD. Then right at the start of this venture, he passed away in August. So this year has been really about Teacher of the Year, but it's also been just about legacy. I told my wife last night I have no idea what I'm going to talk about today, and then this morning I said I know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about legacy, because I think that's very, very important. And I was get my little notes here. I was talking to my really good friend Darla Sessom about her husband being inducted into the athletics department, MISD Athletic Hall of Honor. And she said how great it was that all these people came back and got to see them, and people they hadn't seen for years. And I said, oh, I know what you mean. You mean people for whom Ron Poe is not a stadium. And so I started thinking about that, and I thought about the fact that, all these names on the buildings, they were people, and I worked with a lot of those people. And so basically, I want to also talk about, again, back to my dad and the legacy there. After he passed away, my son was planning his senior recital. He's also a musician, and he was going to give a senior recital, percussion recital at TCU. And he said, Dad, I have to do something that's non-percussion instruments. And he said, you guys were joking about doing a family band. He said, I think we need to do that. And so he said, can we just make a family band? We had never played together as a family. So I said, we'll do it. And so I made an arrangement of Obla Di Obla Da, Beatles classic, and every one of my children, my wife, and each of their significant others all performed at his recital as a family band. And it was really, I realized, I didn't ever ask them to be musicians. They just did. My dad never asked me to be a musician. We just did. I just did. And so when we did that, he is very quiet, the quiet one that never says anything and never lets his emotions be shown. And he got there in front of the TCU faculty and all of his friends. And I never even thought about this being a legacy to my dad, but he basically said, we always called my granddad the leader of the band, and yet we've never been a band. And so we're a band now. And so then my daughter, when they were growing up, when the kids were growing up, we always would make my grandparents, their grandparents, both sets, we would make them little Christmas albums with little children singing Christmas albums. And every year it got a little more elaborate because they got older. And of course, that hasn't happened for many, many years. Well, as we're rehearsing for this little family band, my daughter said, we've got to make a Christmas album for Grammy. That was his wife. And this was November, this was Thanksgiving Day. And so she said, but we can't do a Christmas album because she's going to have to listen to it all year. So she said, we're going to do a Beatles cover album. So starting on Thanksgiving Day to Christmas Day, we made a Beatles cover album. So we actually did a Beatles cover album for her. And it was just so amazing to me to see my children and myself making music together. We had never done that before. And it showed me legacy. So then as I was thinking about Ron Poe not being a stadium, I made a little list of people and that I actually had a working relationship with. Arthur McNeil is not a school. He was a person I worked with. Jesse McGowan, Jack Cockrell, Leonard Evans, Gary Minshew. Earl Slaughter was my dad's superintendent. The first school I taught at was Slaughter Junior High then. So my dad's superintendent was Slaughter. That was my first school. And I will likely retire from Scott Johnson Middle School. Scott Johnson was my first superintendent. So I think it all kind of has come around full circle. And so it made me realize that this wasn't Teacher of the Year. This was about 35 years. It wasn't about a year. And so I leave to everyone here those little legacies. Like my daughter was lit on fire in second grade by Miss Ketchum, her second grade teacher at Burks Elementary. And she told me a little something that one of her students, her first grade students, said to her the other day. And I said, Kimmy, you're her Miss Ketchum. And I really believe that, just in those little bitty things. And there's all those little bitty, tiny little things that we're doing in the classroom, and most of them we never hear about. Some of them we do, but we're leaving that legacy. And it's not a building. It's not buildings. It's people's hearts. It's legacies in people's hearts. And so I think it's amazing to be up here with all these people and to think every year we have this kind of candidate that are being Teachers of the Year. It just boggles my mind. As Dr. McDaniel said, this is an amazing amount of talent coming into McKinney. So hopefully we're all leaving this legacy and we'll all have tiny little stories like this to share through the years. So thank you so much for the honor to have been Teacher of the Year for McKinney ISD.
I'm going to say thank you for honoring me this last year. I truly feel as I've visited with each of you elementary candidates, I realize how inadequate I feel to be standing in front of you today, because the amount of talent and passion and wisdom you bring with you educators is second to none in the state of Texas. And I want to say congratulations to to making it and being honored where you're seated right now. So congratulations to you. I was asked to speak about the last year as Teacher of the Year, and I had a lot of reflections about that. And I thought about, here's the only reason why I feel like maybe we're different in some sort of way is because of than others in another workforce, is because we bring with us a passion. Guys, we don't have a job, we don't have a career, we have a calling. And it is an amazing calling. It's a divine appointment. And, I got to thinking about what makes me a little bit different this year. And I would say that the most important job that I was able to do this year, at, Paul named a lot of the meetings and the events that you get to go to, but even more than that is McKinney ISD gave me a microphone and a platform, metaphorically speaking. And when I had conversations at those meetings and at those events, but more importantly, the conversations from day to day that I would have with people at the nail salon or the grocery store or even a friendly chat with a neighbor, and they would find out that I was a teacher or even that I was a teacher of the year, inevitably, here's the comments that I would get, and I know that you've experienced too. Oh, man. God. Yeah, that's hard, man. How, you really like that? This year, I've had a lot of, what do you think about the privatization of public education? And here recently, in about the last week, these are the conversations that have been brought up. It's a shame about those Oklahoma teachers, isn't it? And I think to myself, yeah, it is. So I'm going to capitalize on this opportunity, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to use my microphone, and I'm going to say, let's have a conversation about that, because what's at stake, guys, is the life of a child. Public education is critically important. We, collectively, get to create this innovative workforce of tomorrow. We, educators, we get to set the tone for our entrepreneurs, our medical doctors, and our political leaders that ensure America flourishes in our global economy. We do that. And you know what? I would encourage each and every one of you to use your voice and talk about what McKinney ISD is doing as their part in public education. And I think that that was the most important part of being Teacher of the Year, is maybe I had a little bit bigger of a platform and a little bit louder of a microphone, but it's my belief that one conversation at a time, we can transform the opinions of others or even clarify misconceptions about what we do, or even enrich the ideas of other teachers that may be on burnout. We can do that. And I think that that's a really important part of being a Teacher of the Year at your campus. And I want to encourage you guys to have your answers ready, because you're going to be asked. And even now, more than any time, public education needs a cheerleader. And that's you, because you are amazing. You are phenomenal. There's more talent in this room than any organization I've ever been in. And I am proud of you. And I want to congratulate you for being here. And I want to congratulate those that work with you, those that support you, your campus administrators, your central office. We all do an amazing job to enhance the lives of kids. So use your voice. You know, the other thing that I wanted to talk about this year, and I was thinking about this year, not only was it my voice that I used, but I had to think about, you know, I'm not going to lie, this year was really tough for me. It was one of those, you know, public education, you're kind of like have this pendulum over the years. You have good years and you have really tough years. And this year, I had some kids that really challenged me to grow. Again, I say these are my divine appointments. So it's okay. You know, it's all right. But I want to share with you, when you hit those times and you're like, man, how in the world am I successful? What? I mean, here I am. I'm supposed to be a Teacher of the Year, and I don't feel successful. Okay, here's what I want to say to you guys. All right. I have this poem that I've kept with me for the last 20 years of my adult life, in which I use to measure success by. And I want to leave this poem with you tonight. Okay? And I hope that you teachers and educators, can you see yourself in this poem and realize that you are successful. Your coworkers, bring it home to them and say you're successful, because what we do in the lives of the child is just absolutely amazing. So the poem that I really fall back on my times of unrest and not being sure of myself as a teacher, is a poem called Success by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And he says, what is success? To laugh often and much. You hear that, teachers? It's amazing. Do you laugh often and much? I hope you do. To win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children. You do it every day. to earn the appreciation of honest critics, and endure the betrayal of false friends. Has it happened to you? Just wait. To appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know that even one life has breathed easier because I have lived. This is to have succeeded. I want to thank you, teachers, for the success that you find every day in your classrooms with our children. Thank you.